All right, let's talk about building real speaking confidence. Today, we're going to break down a practical step-by-step workout that you can actually use. Whether you've got a big presentation coming up or you just want to feel a little more comfortable in everyday chats, you're in the right place. Let's jump right in. So, let me just ask you this. How do you practice confidence? I mean, it sounds like something you're either born with or you're not, right? Well, that's not really true. Think of confidence like a muscle. You can't just wish it into existence. You have to train it. And today, we're going to go through the exact exercises, the sets and reps, if you will, to build up that speaking muscle.
So we're treating this whole thing like a workout, and today's focus is on one single powerful tool, clarification. Now, I know that might sound a little weird. How does asking questions help my speech? But here's the thing. When you focus on understanding someone else, it naturally takes the pressure off of you to perform and puts the focus on just connecting.
And this is the magic behind it. When you make it your mission to clarify something, it almost forces you to slow down. Your brain shifts gears from, I have to get my words out fast, to, I need to understand what's being said. And that simple shift creates a much more deliberate, mindful pace. It's a total game changer. Okay, every good workout needs a good warm-up, right? So let's start with level 1. This is designed to be super simple, low pressure. It's all about just getting the ball rolling and building a little bit of that initial momentum.
Here's your first task. You're just going to make a quick call to a local movie theater and ask how long a movie is. That's it. The goal is crystal clear. The whole thing will take less than a minute, and the stakes are basically zero. It is the perfect first rep.
And hey, we're not going to leave you hanging. Here is the exact script you can use. Notice how specific it is. Exact running time, including the trailers. That little detail is part of the exercise. So all you got to do is pick a movie, dial the number, and just read the line. The goal here is just to get it done. Now for this level, we're going to introduce a technique called sliding. This is huge. If you feel like you're about to get stuck on a word, let's say the movie is Dune, instead of forcing that hard D sound, you just gently ease into the oo vowel sound. So it becomes more like oon. You're sliding into the word instead of crashing into it. It feels totally different and can make a massive difference. All right, warm-up's over. Let's kick it up a notch. For level 2, we're still on the phone, but now we're going to add a little complexity. A follow-up question. This helps train you to stay in the moment and manage a slightly longer conversation. So, for this level, your mission is to call a place that has some expertise, like a local butcher shop or maybe a specialty cheese shop. You're going to ask about one thing and then ask a follow-up about where it comes from. It's just a little more back and forth, a little more engagement. And of course, here's your script. You lead with that first question, you listen to the answer, and then you follow up with the second one. The whole goal here is just to practice managing that transition between two different thoughts within the same conversation. The key technique for this level is the intentional pause. A real pause. After they answer your first question, and right before you ask the second one, just stop. Take a slow, deliberate 3-second breath. Like this. That little bit of space, it's pure magic. It gives your brain and your entire speech system a chance to hit the reset button and move forward without rushing. Okay, you've mastered the phone. Now it's time for level 3. The main event. We're taking this whole operation out into the real world. It's time for a face-to-face interaction. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to go to a bank and talk to a teller or a personal banker. Why a bank? Because it's a professional setting, the topic's a little more technical, and you're talking to someone whose job it is to explain things clearly. It's the perfect training ground. And here is your script. You're asking for a direct comparison, which requires them to do the talking and explaining, and you just have to listen. A lot of people find this kind of conversation intimidating, but with this script, you're the one in control. You're just asking for information. Now, the technique for this level is called advertising, and honestly, it is so empowering. It's a form of self-advocacy where you just name what's happening. If you say something like, hey, just so you know, I sometimes stutter, so I'm going to take my time. You're not apologizing. You're taking control. You instantly release all that internal pressure to be perfect, and funnily enough, that freedom is often the exact thing you need to speak more smoothly. So let's just do a quick recap of the workout. You can see how everything builds on itself, right? We start super simple with a quick call using sliding to ease into words. Then we level up to multiple questions, using pausing to control the pace. And finally, we hit the real world, going face-to-face at the bank and using advertising to own the conversation. It's a really clear, manageable progression. Now, there is one last technique.
It's a foundational strategy you can use for all of these levels and, frankly, for any conversation you'll ever have. Think of this as the secret weapon that makes everything else we talked about work even better.
It's sometimes called the full exhale, but I like to think of it as the gentle start. And it is ridiculously simple. Look at this. Right before you say your first word, you just let out a tiny, gentle puff of air, like a quiet little sigh. That's it. That's the whole technique. So why does that tiny puff of air work so well? Well, most of the time when we get stuck on a word, it's because our vocal cords have locked up from a dead stop. But by exhaling first, your breath is already moving when you go to speak. You're essentially preventing that lock from ever happening in the first place. You're starting your speech with flow instead of with force.
And this quote right here, it just perfectly sums up everything we're doing. Confidence isn't something you find, it's something you build. You build it by creating a record of successful experiences. That call to the movie theater? That's a success. The butcher? Another success. The bank? Another one. You're literally building a portfolio that proves your own competence to yourself.
So I'm going to leave you with this challenge. Just think about the week you have coming up, using all these tools we've talked about, sliding, pausing, advertising, and that little gentle exhale. What is one specific conversation you're going to choose to tackle? Start small, get that first win on the board, and then just build from there.